What do you do when you're standing there looking at your collection, trying to find something to listen to? Nothing grabs you. What do you do? To find out my answer, stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome to Northern Revolutions. I'm Rob. Welcome back if you're returning. Welcome if you're new. Wanted to make this video today. I've seen a few folks in the last week or so make this. I don't know where this thread originally started, but the first one I saw was my good friend and partner in crime, Glenn Calloway. He did this video. So did Mazzy, so did Melinda Murphy, so did my pal Mike at MGK Boston, and a host of others. It's the 10 records that are sort of your go-to, the ones that you listen to the most frequently. It's kind of like, you know, when you're scrolling through the TV and you come across that movie that you have to watch, even though you've seen it 100 times. You know, for me, that's like The Shawshank Redemption or Goodfellas. Not my favorite movie, but I have to watch them every time I see them. And that's kind of the same thing. You know, when you're looking at your records, trying to figure out what to play and nothing really grabs you. There's always those handful of albums that are always enjoyable every time you listen to them, and you're always in the mood for them. It's not necessarily your favorite album by that artist. It's not necessarily their best. It's just the ones that never let you down. The 10 albums that I listen to the most. So here we go. I should mention that these are in no particular order. I'm going to start with Grace Potter and the Nocturnals. This is their self-titled album from 2011. This was their third studio album, I believe. I love Grace Potter and the Nocturnals. They rock band from Vermont. They look like they sound kind of like a 70s kind of blues rock kind of thing. Grace Potter has an incredible voice, incredible performer. She's gone solo since this, and while it's okay, it's not nearly as good as the stuff she did with the Nocturnals. I think I love this. This was my first introduction to the Nocturnals. There was a big hit on here called Paris Ooh La La, but I just love this whole album. It's a great rocker start to finish, and I love it every single time I listen to it. The next one I'm going to show, I'm a big U2 fan, but I'm not going to show what you think I'm going to show. I'm going to show this. This is called U22. A 22-track live collection from the U2 360 tour. This was a U2.com fan club only release, and while this looks like a vinyl record, it's actually 2 CDs with a book that's designed to look like an LP. I wish this was on vinyl, but it's not. As I understand it, and I'm not a U2.com fan club member, though I probably should be, this was tracks voted on by the fan club and put together into an album. It was a great tour, and I love live albums in general. I think the reason that this is my favorite sort of go-to U2 thing, it's a wide array of songs from the very beginning of their career up through almost the modern day stuff. And their live performances, and I love live performances. So this is kind of like a career-spanning live retrospective of U2. The performances that are on here are incredible. So, U22. This next one, I have fond memories of this album. Bryan Adams' Waking Up the Neighbors from 1991. I remember back in my university days at my girlfriend's place blasting this album. I loved it then, I loved it now. Can't Stop This Thing We Started, probably my favorite Bryan Adams song. Not Guilty, House Arrest, Is Your Mama Gonna Miss You, Honey, I'm Packing You In. I just love this. Love it every single time I hear it. Brings back that sort of emotional connection to when I used to listen to this back in the day. Any viewer of my channel will know, of course, this is going to make an appearance. Oasis, What's the Story of Morning Glory? Likely the most significant album of my life, which I have talked about ad nauseum. Holds a very, very sentimental spot for me from the summer of 95 or whenever it was that this came out. A lot of personal memories associated with this album. I won't go into in this video or ever, but nonetheless, this album always is such an enjoyable listen. I absolutely love everything about this. Anytime I listen to it, this is probably the one that I listen to the most of anything. On the heels of that, of course, I'm going to show Beatles record. But again, not what you might think I would show. Sgt. Pepper is my favorite album of all time. I think it's the greatest album ever. But that's not really my go-to Beatles record. When I'm not really in the mood to listen to anything, but I still want to hear the Beatles, I put on Past Masters. What I like about this, I mean, I'm an album guy. I listen to albums start to finish. I don't do playlists. I don't do mixes. I'm not a big compilation fan generally. So the thing about the Beatles is almost the majority of their singles did not appear on albums. So this is a compilation of a lot of their singles and B-sides. So these are songs that are not on Beatles albums. And I tend to gravitate to albums. So because I listen to albums primarily, I would not get to hear a lot of these songs. So that's why this is kind of the heavy rotation of the Beatles collection, I guess you could say. It's got a lot of the singles on here. Love Me Do, She Loves You, I Want to Hold Your Hand, I Feel Fine, Day Tripper, We Can Work It Out, Lady Madonna, Paperback Writer, all songs that weren't on their LPs, their albums. So this I listen to a lot, and when I want to hear the Beatles, but I don't know what of the Beatles I want to listen to, I like this. I think the other reason too is this starts with Love Me Do. One of the first singles, goes all the way up through You Know My Name, Look Up My Number. It spans their entire career. So I get a little bit of all of the Beatles' musical progression in this one album. So Past Masters. This one isn't an album, it's an EP, but I listen to it all the time. And again, whenever I don't know what to listen to, this, especially when I'm driving in my car, because I have all my music digitally in my car and it's alphabetical. So Adam Baldwin is always at the top of the list. He's one of the first names that appears on the screen in my car. So I invariably click him. And when I do, this is the one I go to. His self-titled debut from 2013. I can't believe it's been 10 years already. Adam Baldwin is my favorite Canadian musician. I've said before, I think he's a national treasure, an undiscovered national treasure. This is a very Springsteen-esque EP, but it's great Canadian rock and roll. It's what made me fall in love with Adam Baldwin's music, and continues, I think, to be probably my favorite. Although his current album, Concertos and Serenades, which is dramatically different from this, gives this a run for its money. But my go-to Adam Baldwin is his self-titled. The next one I think is probably my, behind Oasis, What's the Story, Morning Glory, is probably the second one that I go to, and I'm like, what do I want to listen to? I'm not really in the mood for anything. And that's the Wallflowers, Bringing Down the Horse from 96. This was pressed on vinyl for the first time, I think, 2015. This is an original first press. Killer album. One Headlight, Sixth Avenue Heartache, Three Marlenas, God Don't Make Lonely Girls. Not a Bob Dylan fan, but this is his son Jacob, and I think he's fantastic. So my favorite Wallflowers album by far, and one of my favorite albums of all time. I just love One Headlight is just a great killer opener to this. That incessant kick drum, and that just, it gets my head bobbing and my toe tapping, and it puts me in a great mood every single time I hear this album. Next up, an album from my dad's favorite band, probably one of the greatest selling albums of all time, and an album I discovered on my own as a I don't know, 14-year-old. Fleetwood Mac's Rumors. If I remember correctly, I was leafing through Dad's collection and I came on this and I remarked to Dad that that's a weird cover. And he said, listen to it. You'll like it. And I did. And I loved it. I became obsessed with it back in 93, 4, whenever it was that I discovered this album. I have several different copies of it on CD, the regular, the anniversary, the expanded, whatever, several different copies on vinyl. And I did just pre-order Rumors Live, which is the live version of this that's coming out next month. Thanks, Sam, for letting me know about that. This is one of the greatest classic rock albums ever. I know some people bitch and moan that it's overplayed. Whatever. I love it. The last two I'm going to show are CDs because they're not available on vinyl, though I wish they were. This album is phenomenal and no one's ever heard of it. This is called Six Shooter by the Dustin Bentall Outfit. I know Dustin. He's a Canadian singer-songwriter. His dad is Barney Bentall of Barney Bentall and the Legendary Hearts. If you're a Canadian music fan, you know that band from the 90s. This is Dustin's second album. It is, wow, stoner rock and country fused together in a very, very effective manner. So Dustin obviously is on here. Kendall Carson, his fiddle player, who I also know. She now plays with Alan Doyle, formerly of Great Big Sea. Pat Stewart is on here, who's Bryan Adams' drummer when it's not Mickey Curry. Luke Doucette from Whitehorse plays guitar on here. Dow Cowsill, who I know, is son of Billy Cowsill from The Cowsills. He plays on here. When this band was in its heyday, they're not together anymore. I saw them every chance I could. Seen them many, many times. This is one of my favorite albums ever. I wish more people knew about it. Dustin doesn't do a lot of music these days, unfortunately. I wish he would do more. There's a great song in here. All of them are Dustin's originals, except for a song called 3,000 Miles. It was written by a guy named Corn Raymond from Toronto. As one of my favorite sing-along songs. It's about getting high. Not my thing, but the song is fantastic. I love playing it on guitar. I love singing it. Love singing it at the top of my lungs when I see them live. So the Dustin Bentall Outfit, Six Shooter. An independent release, was never on a label. He was later on, but he self-released this, and it is a goddamn great album. And last but not least, now, I'm not going to forget this band, Blue Rodeo. This CD has been ridden hard. This is their live album from 99. This is called Just Like a Vacation. It would be a dream come true if this comes out on vinyl. It probably won't. I don't know why they won't release the rest of their back catalog. No idea. I've asked. The band doesn't even know. But anyway, why is this my go-to Blue Rodeo album? Well, they are my favorite band. They have a very long history. I think they've been around coming up, I don't know, what, 35 years, 40 years now. If I'm honest, and I think I've said this before, the best part of their career was the first half. They were formed in 1985. First album was in 87. This came out in 99. So this is a live show that covers, songs essentially from the first half or first third of their career. And at their peak, they're still, while their studio output nowadays maybe isn't, in my opinion, as good as their earlier stuff, they have always been a live band, first and foremost. They're incredible live. They always have been. Why I love this is live performances of the prime of their career. So, all the early hits, Telling on Myself Again, What Am I Doing Here, Better Off As We Are, After the Rain, 5 Days in May, Hasn't Hit Me Yet, Diamond Mine, Lost Together. Those are the hits. But then you get live performances that you will never, ever hear them play. The Ballad of the Dime Store Greaser and the Blonde Mona Lisa. Florida, Girl in Green, Falling Down Blue. I've heard some of these songs live only because I've seen this band live 47 times. It's not a joke. You'll never hear these songs live ever again. So um, if you find this on CD still, I don't know if it's still in print anymore, but it's relatively easy to find. This is a great place to do some Blue Rodeo if you don't, because it's more than just their studio albums, right? So it'd be a dream come true if this ever came out on vinyl. But if you can track one of these down, do it, because this is them at their best. There you go, folks. There's my 10 albums that I listen to the most, the 10 albums that never let me down, the 10 albums that I go to when I can't find anything else to listen to. So let me know in the comments, what are your go-tos? What are the things that you listen to with some frequency? Let me know in the comments. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Catch you on the flip side.